Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's the hot new podcast featuring Hollywood's most influential artists sharing how they became industry icons. Here to share some of the surprising insights, we welcome the host of My Hollywood Story, journalist Stacey Wilson Hunt. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
I love that you're from Portland.
Yes,
you grew up
I
here
grew up
in
watching this show.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, awesome. So tell me about this podcast, how it got started, and who have you talked to so far?
Absolutely. So I moved to Los Angeles 15 years ago, and I'd been living in Portland prior to that. I worked at Portland Monthly. I was a correspondent for People magazine here in Portland. So I'm a Portland girl first and foremost, and I lived in New York previously to that. But I always wanted to have my own show. And I think after 15 years working in Hollywood for Hollywood Reporter and Fortune and New York Magazine, other publications, I really felt like it was the right time to try to launch my own show. So in the last year and a half, I've been curating an approach for the podcast, and it's a filmed show. So it's not just audio, it's actually video as well.
Okay.
But the thing that was most important to me, which will resonate with you, is I wanted it to be in person. I didn't want this to be over Zoom. I didn't want it to be virtual.
There's a different feeling.
Very different. And by the way, those are great approaches too.
Right.
But I really wanted this to feel special. And I really wanted the listener to think like, wow, I can't believe she got this person to sit down with her. Because I think it elevates the experience for the listener. So in the last year and a half, I found a great producing team. We found a gorgeous venue right in Hollywood, which is conveniently 1 mile from where I live. So I can walk there, which is a real boon for the show. And we launched this past week. We have 2 episodes live right now, and I have many more dropping in around the next 6 weeks.
You got together, you interviewed Caitlin Olsen, who is on the...
She's on High Potential.
High Potential.
On ABC,
and
which
she's
is
from
one of the,
Portland.
Yes, one of the biggest broadcast shows of the last year, a huge hit.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a great show.
It's a great show.
Yeah. What did you learn talking with her?
So Caitlin I knew from back in the day in Tigard because her brother Josh was my friend. Can't make this up.
No.
And I'd been kind of tracking Caitlin's career for a long time. Actually, around 2007, I flew from Portland to go to the set of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
So I did a piece for Willamette Week about Caitlin being on the show, and I got to see her acting with Danny DeVito. It was quite a day on set. Danny DeVito was actually somewhat naked that day and drenched in oil.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, I got to see Danny escape from a couch. It's a long story, but you'll have to look up the episode.
Wow.
And I loved my time with her. And when she had settled in LA, became a huge star.
Right.
And she was one of my...
such a good actress.
She's amazing, and also she appears on Hacks, the show on Max, and she's gotten 2 Emmy nominations for her work on that show as well. She's really having a moment, and of course she's married to Rob McElhenney, the creator of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and also the star. So she just has a wonderful story, and she was among my first asks for the show. She graciously said yes. We had a wonderful conversation about growing up here, what it's like to sort of segue living in Hollywood, which is very different. And her episode is actually premiering this Tuesday.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. You were on Hacks. You just brought up Hacks. You were on Hacks.
I was. I actually forgot for a moment. Yes, I appeared in this current season's first episode. I played a very different character from myself. I played a journalist, just kidding. And I know the creators of the show very well. They're the loveliest people. I know Gene and the cast. And they asked a group of us from Hollywood to play journalists in a press conference scene. And I did have a line that I had to say about 15 times, and I must say it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I bet.
But I have that much more appreciation for television. Jean Smart, my God.
Oh, she's great. She's great.
She's the most professional, sort of like the A-list person in my mind. But yeah, that was a real treat.
Another Portland connection, Fred Armisen, you interviewed.
Yeah, so I met Fred. Funny enough, so Jay Farrow, who we just saw earlier, who is wonderful. I met him in 2011. I spent a week at Saturday Night Live doing a story on Lorne Michaels, and I met him that week, and I met Fred for the first time. And Fred, of course, I think he had just launched Portlandia, or he was about to. And then he and I stayed in touch, and I would come here on occasion to visit the set of Portlandia. And then he and I and my husband all became friends. And he actually took us out for an anniversary drink at Hotel Deluxe a few years ago to celebrate our anniversary, which oddly enough is also today, is my wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary! That's
Happy anniversary, Chris.
Yeah.
So Fred has become just a lovely friend, and he agreed to do my show as well. And his episode's dropping, I believe, in early July.
Who else have you interviewed so far?
So my first episodes that are currently live are Billy Bob Thornton. He was my premiere.
What was he like? I've interviewed him before. I thought he was really sweet.
I just can't say enough about
Which sounds
Billy.
weird about Billy Bob.
Oh no,
but I love him.
I've been interviewing him for about 11 or 12 years, and he is just exactly who you think he is. He's so charming. He's so open and vulnerable, so warm. And he was actually my first ask, and he has always said, anything you need from me, Stacey. And so I said, okay, I'm calling in my favor.
Yeah, that's so
And then
great.
I have Nick Kroll, who's a very prolific comedian. His episode dropped yesterday. He created Big Mouth, the show on Netflix, the animated series, very R-rated. Don't let your kids watch it, it's very R-rated. But he's the co-creator of that, a very prolific comedian. And then next week I also have Elizabeth Moss, the star of Handmaid's Tale, who I was able to speak to the other day after the finale, so we were able to talk about how she ended the series.
Has anyone said anything to you that you found surprising? Because you've known most of these folks for a long time.
So that's a great question. There's a curse and a blessing to having spoken to people a number of times. How do you curate a conversation that feels organic when you know so much about people? So what I generally do is I go back and revisit previous interviews, and I pick out the things I'd love for them to either revisit or just add more layers to. But I have to say, even speaking to Billy Bob, this was our 5th or 6th deep conversation, I would say more than half of what he revealed was new to me. Because I think also people live longer during that time. They have more insights and they become more reflective about their work. So it hasn't been an issue so far, which I was, to your point, I was actually a little concerned about that. But
yeah, okay, so what did he reveal? One thing. You don't have to tell me everything, just one, just a little tiny
Well,
bit.
I will say it was very silly, but he did talk about how he was the biggest baby in his county. When he was 7.5 months old, he weighed 30 pounds. So that was my big takeaway.
That's almost as shocking as Danny DeVito, but okay.
I know, those are kind of equally shocking, but for very different reasons. So that's more of a silly anecdote. But he did share a very moving piece of his life at the end of our conversation about how his brother had passed away when the brother was young, and it was in 1988. And Billy has talked about how he carries that grief with him all the time. And he tells people, don't ever try to get over a loss. And it actually can help who you are, help you be a better artist. And it was very, like, a wonderfully emotional, and there were some tears in the audience that day, which, you know, feels, if people can walk away thinking, wow, I learned something very emotionally resonant about this artist whom I greatly admire. It just felt like an added bonus.
Who do you, if you could pick any guest that you may not have even, you know, have the ability to get a hold of, who would you want to interview?
You would think that I would have this very ready to say.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I mean Meryl Streep, obviously.
Oh, yes.
I've done events with her where she's one of many on a panel, but I've never had the chance to sit down and go through the beats of her career, which would be amazing. I mean, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, anyone pretty much in the 70s whose careers essentially spawned my interest in film. Those are the people I would just love to revisit and really just, I really geek out with these backstories.
Yeah, oh, they're wonderful.
I'm so fascinated and delighted by finding out the artistic process and all the hard work that goes into everything. It's just, it's extraordinary.
And that is what you find out, is there's a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work. And a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to tell everyone again, the podcast is called My Hollywood Story. Stacey Wilson Hunt, thank you so much. And happy anniversary again.
Thank you so much. And I'm so honored. Thank you for having me, Helen.
You bet. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.